You're delusional.
Hi, welcome to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club. My name's Courtney and I'm your host, and today we're talking about our book club's BL manga of the month, Candy Color Paradox. This is written by Isaku Natsume and is one of their many titles. It is one of 2 volumes, and I chose this because I knew our anime this month was going to be Banana Fish. In comparison to Banana Fish, which is utterly heart-wrenching, this story is utterly wholesome. And on top of that, the characters kind of look like the characters from Banana Fish, and I needed to be able to imagine that with an alternative ending. This is our top, Kaburagi. He's blonde, he's confident, he's popular, he's great at his job. And this is our bottom, Ono, who is bashful, shy, unconfident, but competent. He's just klutzy whenever he's around Kaburagi. I thought that this story was absolutely precious. We have a lot of tropes in here that I'm very fond of, including workplace romance. The 2 work at a newspaper together, uncovering stories on the stakeout team. So we've got our photographer here and our writer here, and they compete with each other to try to get the scoop, even though they're obviously on the same team. So that bit of jealousy, that competition really comes through in a jovial, joyful kind of way, and gave opportunities for certain chemistry and certain friction to really ignite sparks. The other thing I really liked about this story was the forced proximity. They're oftentimes in a love motel and or in a car, and I'm sure you can guess how that would spice things up a little bit. When 2 people who don't like each other, claim not to like each other, are forced to sit mere feet apart at all times through the night, many different thoughts can go through each other's heads. Another trope I really like here is when the top falls first and falls harder. And we definitely have that with Kaburagi. He is a little bit off-put by the fact that Ono is so klutzy around him and can't keep his shit together, but he catches on very quickly that must be because Ono has a crush on him. And instead of being irritated or rubbing in Ono's face that he could have anybody he wants, he returns his affection. And although it's not sweet, it's always kind of catty between these 2. I found it really realistic and I found it really entertaining. The love, hate, jealousy also made for some really cute artwork. We have adorable chivis here. We have the characters blushing constantly. We have them throwing fits constantly, making wild expressions, and I really loved reading along with all of that. Kaburagi very clearly has a lot of experience romantically, or at least he pretends to. In order to get his stories, he's oftentimes bluffing or straight up lying to the people he's trying to get information out of. And when we first meet these 2 characters, Ono, the bottom, has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend is stolen by who? Kaburagi. Kaburagi isn't actually trying to steal his girlfriend, he's using her for work. And when Ono figures that out, he realizes, man, this guy must just lie to everybody. But as the story goes on, you realize he never really lies to him. And why is that? Is that because he just doesn't care about him? Or is it something deeper? Is it more like trust? Or affection or admiration? Why is he singling him out and treating him differently, even if that treatment means that everybody else gets to see the best side of Kaburagi and only Ono gets to see him be aggressive? I thought that the plot in this was actually pretty superficial. It's the 2 just driving around trying to get stories with each other. So I do wonder in volume 2 how we're going to take that further. Are they going to get in trouble? Is somebody that they're trying to get a story out of, like a politician, going to, I don't know, try to silence them? Something a little bit more dramatic? Or are we going to continue to just have pure fluff with these 2? Either way, I wouldn't really mind, but I don't absolutely love getting news stories. That's not a plot that I'm like extremely interested in, but I am interested in seeing these 2 gain more experience with each other. I love when in a story, both characters don't really have a qualm with being of the same sex, but do admit that they don't have a lot of experience and are able to share a ton of firsts with each other. And if we get more of that in the next book, I'd really appreciate it. If you're a fan of just pure smut, this might not be the story for you. We don't get anything spicy until the very end pages. I'm not kidding. It's like the last chapter in the bonus story. We get a little bit of skin, and that's amazing. But if you're a girl who needs a little bit of action every chapter, this might not be for you. I thought it was just enough to keep me going, and I'm definitely going to collect volume 2. If you pick up this story and you love it, please go to our discussion forum and tell me all about it. And if you're looking for more stories by this same author, they also published False Memories, Ginger Honey, Devil's Honey, Dash, Tightrope, and their debut was called No Color. So if this sounds right up your alley, they might have other stories that are for you too. You can buy this on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and I'm sure many other sites. If you've never read BL manga before, it can also be called yaoi. And a lot of people have certain societal expectations or even straight up prejudices against the people who read this or the people who write this. I encourage you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions on why women like me might want to read stories or fantasize about a world where they don't really exist. I'm kind of tired of seeing people represent women in a shifty or inaccurate light. I also have really high expectation for female characters. If a female character is whiny, bratty, annoying, I'll DNF a book so fast. But for some reason, those same characteristics on a man don't bother me. And that does have to do with societal pressures. Society's taught us that if we're not doing women a service by writing them as powerful, sword-wielding, independent bitches, then we're doing them a disservice. And honestly, I don't agree with that. I think that people can be really complex characters. They can be annoying and still lovable. I know that it's my fault that I've bought into those stereotypes about women, that they must be perfect to be represented accurately or worth reading. And I do still read many novels with female characters in it, but once in a while, I like to take all of those questions out of consideration and just read a story where women aren't in question. They're not centered. Their bodies, their boobs aren't the first thing that we see. And yeah, I'm a bisexual girl. I can look at either drawn on a page. And when I get to see two dudes, it's just double the hot dudes. When I get to see a guy and a girl, hot on both ends. When I get to see two girls, also hot there. I'm not prejudiced against any of this. And if you are prejudiced against it, or you want to come after me for only reading BL, then I'd ask you to maybe investigate your own reasoning for that. I certainly do not only read BL. I have a literature degree and I have a very vast variety of things that I enjoy reading. But for right now, I'd like to focus on some stuff that I've never been able to read before. I was raised as a Catholic in Montana. So no, gay stories were not preached. They were not proud of. There was no pride in gay stories. In fact, it was smothered in guilt. If I ever had thoughts like this about two guys, about two girls, about more than two people, I would have been on my knees praying for forgiveness. And guess what? At this stage in my life, I don't mind being on my knees, but it's definitely not going to be praying for forgiveness about something I don't feel bad about anymore. So if you have issue with that or questions about that, I beg you to do your own research, your own self-discovery, and come back when you've decided that this is worth your time, because I already have. If you want to join us for more discussions like this, either societal or just straight up about the book, then please join us at our blog, delusionalboyfriendbookclub.com, our podcast, Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, our TikTok, Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, our Insta, Delusional BF Book Club, and at our YouTube. I hope to see you guys all there, and I hope to make a beautiful community that loves talking about all things romance. If there's any stories that you guys want to talk about that you don't see on this year's calendar, it's our year of yaoi, and you still want to suggest that I read them, please do email me, CourtneyDBBC@outlook.com, and we can definitely try to plug that in next time. I love all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for finally helping me create a space where we can gossip about all things gay, all things lovey-dovey, all things smut. I don't want to leave anything out. I don't want to discriminate or prejudice against anyone. So if you have a story about two snake dudes or gods getting it on, if you have a K-drama that nobody else has seen that you want to talk about, if you have a reality TV show like Naked and Afraid of Love that you just binged and you want to gossip about, please feel free to go to our Discord, go to our website, and start a conversation. There's going to be somebody else there that wants to talk about that too. The next story that we're going to be covering this month is Taming the Tiger. It's a BL manhwa, and you can join us on the 15th for that podcast. We're going to do a little preview of that podcast on the 11th on the blog. And if you're interested in this month's anime, it was Banana Fish. If you're into romance novels, our romance novels this year are all going to be L. Thorpe. She writes Why Choose Romance with strong connections between the male characters. We're going to be covering the St. View Prison series first. It does start with the St. View High series, so if you're interested, you can go back and read those. I'm not really interested in high school characters most of the time. I am 28 years old, and I find it most appropriate to read about characters my age or older. But if you do want to check those out, please feel free. If not, please start with St. View Prison Volume 1, and we'll be discussing that on the 25th with a blog preview on the 21st. I hope to see you all there, and until then, remember, sometimes the delusion is the solution. Bye.